Hit the subscribe button.
The sky over London buzzed with an unsettling energy as alien ships descended from the heavens. Jim Bennett, a seasoned engineer and strategist, stood on the roof of the United Nations Space Command, UNSC, headquarters, his mind racing through possibilities and countermeasures. A loud beep from his communicator jolted him from his thoughts. "Jim, report to the war room immediately," Admiral Marcus Hayes' voice commanded. Jim sprinted inside, navigating the bustling corridors. He entered the war room, where a holographic display of Earth was surrounded by key military and scientific personnel. Admiral Hayes, a stern figure with a reputation for decisive action, stood at the center. "We're under attack," Hayes announced, pointing to the display where alien ships were marked in red. "The Zalnari fleet has arrived." Dr. Evelyn Clark, a brilliant scientist and Jim's confidant, stepped forward. "We need to activate the energy shield now," she urged. Jim nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. "We have to buy time to analyze their technology," he said, quickly inputting commands into his tablet. Outside, chaos erupted as the alien fleet began its assault. London's iconic landmarks were targeted, explosions lighting up the skyline. The UNSC's energy shield flickered to life, forming a protective barrier around key installations. "It's not holding," Evelyn reported, her voice strained. "Their weapons are too advanced." Jim frowned, deep in thought. "We need to find another way," he said. "There's an ancient device stored in a remote facility, rumored to have immense power. It might be our only hope." Admiral Hayes turned to him. "You have authorization to retrieve it. Take Lieutenant Zoe Carter with you." Zoe, a skilled pilot with a mysterious past, stepped forward. Her eyes betrayed a mix of determination and concern. "Ready when you are," she said. The trio departed immediately, traveling to the remote facility in a high-speed craft. Along the way, Jim and Evelyn reviewed data on the ancient device. It was said to generate an energy pulse capable of disabling advanced technology, a potential game-changer. Their journey was fraught with danger. Alien patrols scoured the area, and the team had to navigate treacherous terrain. Zoe's piloting skills were put to the test as she evaded enemy fighters, demonstrating her exceptional abilities. Finally, they arrived at the facility, hidden deep within a mountain range. The entrance was heavily fortified, but Zoe's quick thinking and Jim's engineering skills got them inside. The facility was a relic from a bygone era, its technology ancient yet sophisticated. In the heart of the facility, they found the device, a massive, intricately designed machine humming with latent power. Jim and Evelyn worked together to decipher its controls, their expertise complementing each other perfectly. As they prepared to transport the device back to headquarters, an alarm sounded. The Zalnari had tracked them down. Zoe readied her weapon, standing guard as Jim and Evelyn secured the device. "Incoming!" Zoe shouted, firing at the approaching aliens. Jim and Evelyn hurried, their actions synchronized by years of collaboration. "Almost there," Jim muttered, making final adjustments. Evelyn monitored the device's readings, ensuring it remained stable. The facility shook under the force of the alien assault. Jim and Evelyn finished their preparations just as Zoe's defenses were overwhelmed. They activated the device, emitting a powerful energy pulse that temporarily disabled the alien attackers. "Let's move," Jim commanded. They transported the device back to their craft and fled the facility, narrowly escaping the alien forces. Back at the UNSC headquarters, they quickly integrated the device into Earth's defense system. The tension in the war room was palpable as they prepared for the next phase of the battle. Jim took a deep breath. "This has to work," he said, looking at Evelyn and Zoe. They nodded, sharing his resolve. As the alien fleet regrouped for another attack, Jim initiated the device. A brilliant pulse of energy radiated from Earth's defenses, targeting the alien ships. The impact was immediate, alien technology began to malfunction, their ships losing power. The war room erupted in cheers, but Jim remained focused. "We've bought some time," he said. "But this is just the beginning. We need to understand their motives and find a lasting solution." Admiral Hayes approached, placing a hand on Jim's shoulder. "Well done. Now, let's plan our next move." Jim looked around at his team, feeling a surge of determination. They had a long road ahead, but for the first time, they had hope. The sun dipped below the horizon as Jim, Evelyn, and Zoe reached the UNSC headquarters with the ancient device. The building buzzed with a frenetic energy, everyone aware that their time was running short. Jim wasted no time in getting the device to the lab, where scientists and engineers awaited. "Let's get to work," Jim instructed, rolling up his sleeves. The team gathered around the device, their faces a mix of curiosity and urgency. Evelyn began her analysis, her fingers flying over the controls. "This technology is incredible," she murmured. "It's far beyond anything we've seen before." Zoe stood watch, her keen eyes scanning for any signs of trouble. Despite her stoic demeanor, Jim sensed an underlying tension. He knew she was haunted by her past, but now wasn't the time for questions. Hours passed as the team worked tirelessly, integrating the device into Earth's defense systems. Jim coordinated with various departments, ensuring everything was in place. He knew their success hinged on this one shot. As dawn broke, the first test was ready. "Let's see what this thing can do," Jim said, his voice filled with both anticipation and concern. The room fell silent as Evelyn initiated the device. A low hum filled the lab, growing in intensity until a brilliant pulse of energy surged through the room. "All readings are normal," Evelyn reported, her eyes glued to the monitors. "The energy output is stable and within expected parameters." Jim nodded. "Good. Now let's prepare for the real test." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the headquarters. The Zalnari had detected the energy surge and were launching a direct assault. "They're coming for us," Zoe said, her expression grim. "We need to defend the facility." Jim quickly organized a defensive perimeter. Soldiers and automated turrets took positions, ready to repel the alien forces. Zoe joined the front lines, her skills as a pilot now turned to ground combat. Jim and Evelyn stayed in the lab, coordinating the defense and making final adjustments to the device. The battle outside was fierce. The Zalnari pressed hard, their advanced technology putting Earth's defenses to the test. Explosions rocked the building, and the sounds of combat filled the air. Zoe fought with precision, her movements fluid and deadly. Despite the overwhelming odds, she held her ground, inspiring those around her. In the lab, Evelyn's fingers danced over the controls. "We need a few more minutes," she said, her voice tight with concentration. "We don't have a few minutes," Jim replied, glancing at the security feeds. The alien forces were breaching the outer defenses. He grabbed a communicator. "Zoe, we need more time. Can you hold them off?" "I'll try," Zoe responded, her voice crackling over the intercom. She rallied the troops, pushing back against the invaders with everything they had. Jim returned to the device, his mind racing. They had come too far to fail now. "Evelyn, what's the status?" "Almost there," she said, making final calibrations. "Just a bit longer." A loud crash echoed through the lab as an explosion blew open the doors. Jim turned to see Zalnari soldiers pouring in. He grabbed a weapon, firing at the intruders. Evelyn continued working, her focus unbroken despite the chaos. Zoe burst into the lab, her weapon blazing. She quickly dispatched the alien soldiers, securing the room. "We're out of time," she said, panting. Evelyn looked up, her face illuminated by the glow of the device. "It's ready." Jim activated the device, sending a powerful energy pulse through the facility. The alien attackers froze, their technology rendered useless. The remaining Zalnari soldiers retreated, their ships losing power and drifting aimlessly. The immediate threat was over, but Jim knew this was only a temporary reprieve. "We need to analyze this data," he said, turning to Evelyn. "Find out exactly what this device can do and how we can use it to end this war." Zoe leaned against the wall, catching her breath. "We'll have to be ready for their next move. They won't give up easily." Jim nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. The ancient device had given them a fighting chance, but the real battle was just beginning. He looked at his team, their faces determined despite the exhaustion. They had come together in a moment of crisis, and he knew they would see this through to the end. "We'll be ready," Jim said, meeting their eyes. "Let's get to work." The lab returned to its frenetic activity, each member of the team driven by the knowledge that their actions could determine the fate of humanity. As they worked, the first light of dawn filtered through the shattered windows, reminder that no matter how dark the night, a new day would always come. The UNSC headquarters hummed with activity as Jim, Evelyn, and Zoe analyzed the results of the recent test. The ancient device had performed beyond expectations, but its full potential remained untapped. Jim stared at the monitor, his mind racing. "We need to understand the true capabilities of this device," he said. "And fast." Evelyn nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "I've discovered something intriguing," she said, pulling up a new set of data. "This device seems to have multiple modes. One of them might provide a more permanent solution." Before they could delve deeper, Admiral Hayes entered the lab, his expression stern. "We have a problem," he announced. "Our intelligence reports indicate that the Zalnari have infiltrated our ranks. We suspect there's a mole." Jim's heart sank. "Do we have any leads?" he asked. Hayes nodded. "We intercepted a transmission sent from within our base. The signal was traced to this facility." The room fell silent as everyone processed the gravity of the situation. Zoe, standing by the door, clenched her fists. "I'll increase security," she said, heading out to coordinate with the defense teams. As Zoe left, Evelyn approached Jim. "We need to find this mole before they can cause more damage," she said, her voice steady. Jim agreed, feeling the weight of the responsibility. He knew the success of their mission depended on trust and cooperation. Any breach could be catastrophic. They worked tirelessly, scanning through security footage and communication logs. Hours passed, and the pressure mounted. Then, a breakthrough, a hidden message embedded in a routine data packet. "It's encrypted," Evelyn said, frowning at the screen. "But I can crack it." Jim watched as she worked, marveling at her skill. Within minutes, the encryption fell apart, revealing a series of coordinates and a name, Zoe Carter. Jim's blood ran cold. "It can't be," he whispered. "She's been with us from the start." Admiral Hayes, who had been observing silently, stepped forward. "We need to confront her. If she's compromised, our entire operation is at risk." Zoe was summoned back to the lab. She entered, her face calm but wary. "What's going on?" she asked, glancing between Jim, Evelyn, and Hayes. Jim took a deep breath. "We found evidence linking you to the Zalnari. Is there any truth to this?" Zoe's eyes widened in shock. "You think I'm the mole? After everything we've been through?" Evelyn crossed her arms, her gaze piercing. "We need answers, Zoe. Explain this." Zoe hesitated, then sighed. "All right, you deserve the truth." She looked at them with a mixture of guilt and resolve. "I was sent here by the Zalnari, but not as a saboteur. My mission was to understand human defenses and technology. But things changed. I saw your determination and ingenuity. I couldn't go through with my orders." Jim felt a mix of anger and betrayal. "Why didn't you tell us?" "Because I knew you'd never trust me," Zoe replied, her voice breaking. "But I swear, I'm on your side now. I want to help defeat the Zalnari." Admiral Hayes remained stoic. We can't take that risk. You'll be detained until we verify your claims. Zoe nodded, tears in her eyes. I understand. Just, use the device. It's the only way to stop them. As Zoe was led away, Jim and Evelyn shared a look of disbelief. The revelation had shaken them, but there was no time to dwell on it. They had to focus on the task at hand. Jim turned to Evelyn. Let's figure out these other modes. We need every advantage we can get. Evelyn resumed her work on the device, her fingers moving with renewed urgency. Jim monitored the progress, his mind replaying Zoe's words. He wanted to believe her, but the risk was too great. Hours later, Evelyn exclaimed, "Got it. There's a mode that amplifies the energy pulse exponentially. It could disable their entire fleet, but it's dangerous. If miscalculated, it could cause massive collateral damage." Jim weighed the options. We don't have a choice. We have to take the risk. They prepared for the activation, knowing this could be their last stand. Jim coordinated with the remaining defense forces, ensuring every detail was accounted for. As they initiated the sequence, Jim couldn't shake the image of Zoe's tearful confession. He hoped they had made the right decision. The device hummed to life, its power building to a crescendo. The entire facility seemed to vibrate with anticipation. Jim and Evelyn watched the readings, their hearts pounding. Now! Jim shouted, and Evelyn activated the pulse. A brilliant wave of energy surged outward, targeting the alien fleet. The screens lit up with data, showing the Zalnari ships losing power and drifting aimlessly. Admiral Hayes entered the lab, a rare smile on his face. It worked. You did it. Jim felt a surge of relief. We're not done yet. We need to solidify our defenses and make sure they can't retaliate. As they celebrated the temporary victory, the image of Zoe in detention haunted Jim. He knew they had to uncover the full truth and prepare for whatever came next. The headquarters buzzed with anticipation as Jim, Evelyn, and Admiral Hayes strategized in the war room. The recent success had given them a fighting chance, but they knew the Zalnari would not be deterred easily. We need to be proactive, Jim asserted, pointing to the maps displayed on the screens. We have to strike before they regroup. Evelyn nodded, her eyes scanning the data. We should target their command ship. If we can disable their central command, the rest of the fleet will be in disarray. Admiral Hayes agreed. It's risky, but it might be our best shot. We'll need to coordinate with all available forces. As they finalized their plans, a sudden alert rang out. The Zalnari were preparing for another assault, and time was running short. Jim's communicator buzzed. It was Zoe, still in detention but visibly anxious. Jim, you need to listen to me. I have vital information about the Zalnari's weaknesses. Let me help. Jim hesitated, then glanced at Hayes. We need every advantage we can get. Let's hear her out. Zoe was brought to the war room, her demeanor earnest and determined. The Zalnari's command ship has a critical vulnerability. If you can breach their shields, you can overload their core reactors. Jim's eyes lit up with possibility. How do we get through their shields? Zoe pulled up schematics on the screen. There's a narrow window when they recalibrate their defenses. It's risky, but if timed perfectly, we can get through. Admiral Hayes considered this. It's a long shot, but it's worth the risk. We move out immediately. The team mobilized, coordinating with Earth's remaining defense forces. Jim and Evelyn worked tirelessly to adapt the ancient device for the attack. They knew this could be their only. The team mobilized, coordinating with Earth's remaining defense forces. Jim and Evelyn worked tirelessly to adapt the ancient device for the attack. They knew this could be their only chance to end the conflict. Zoe, now fully integrated back into the team, joined Jim and Evelyn on the command ship. Her insights were invaluable, and Jim found himself trusting her again despite the past betrayal. As their fleet approached the Zalnari Armada, tension filled the air. The alien ships loomed ahead, an imposing wall of technology and power. Jim took a deep breath, steadying himself for what lay ahead. "All units, prepare for the assault," Admiral Hayes ordered over the comms. "We hit them hard and fast. No second chances." The battle commenced with a fury, Earth's ships weaving through enemy fire as they advanced. Jim, Evelyn, and Zoe guided their ship towards the command vessel, their movements precise and coordinated. "Now!" Zoe shouted, and Jim activated the ancient device. A powerful energy pulse surged forth, creating a breach in the Zalnari shields. Evelyn targeted the reactors, her fingers flying over the controls. Just a bit more. Their ship shuddered as they took hits from enemy fire. "Hold steady," Jim urged, his eyes fixed on the target. Finally, Evelyn locked in. "Fire," she commanded, and a concentrated beam of energy struck the reactor core. The impact was immediate and catastrophic, causing a chain reaction that spread through the command ship. The Zalnari fleet faltered, their formations breaking apart as the command ship exploded. Earth's forces pressed their advantage, targeting the now disorganized alien ships. As the last of the Zalnari fleet retreated, a cheer erupted across the comms. Jim, Evelyn, and Zoe shared a moment of relief and triumph. They had done the impossible, but the cost was high. Back at headquarters, the team debriefed, analyzing the aftermath. Admiral Hayes approached Jim, his expression one of respect. "You did it. Against all odds, you led us to victory." Jim shook his head. "It was a team effort. We couldn't have done it without everyone working together." Zoe stood nearby, her eyes reflecting both relief and sorrow. "I'm sorry for everything," she said quietly. "But I'm glad I could help." Jim placed a hand on her shoulder. "We couldn't have done it without you. What matters now is rebuilding and ensuring this never happens again." Evelyn nodded, already thinking ahead. "We need to fortify our defenses and explore new alliances. This victory has shown us what's possible when we stand united." As they looked out at the horizon, the sun setting over a recovering Earth, there was a sense of closure and new beginnings. The battle had been won, but the war for lasting peace had just begun.